All right, everybody, welcome back to our fifth annual Big Give. I'm so excited that we've been doing this for 5 years, and so many of the speakers that we have on, we've been talking to for the past 5 years. And I was thinking about it last night on how we've watched research grow, we've watched these families grow. So I'm excited today that we have our board chair, David Gifford, with us. And we are going to talk about extended support and 215Q Alliance board and all the good things. So David, you want to start? Tell us how long you've been active with the Alliance.
I joined the board in 2015. I think it was October, and then I was on the board. And then when Tom Doyle's term was finished, I became the chair. It was, I think, January 2019. So I'm on my last of term of my two-year term. So the end of this year. It's, still be involved for sure. As you mentioned, extended family, my granddaughter, Annabelle Borath, is our duper. They're not next door, like a lot of families are very close to, geographically. Ours are about as far away as they can get. They live in California. So I guess being on the board helps me feel a little closer than I would otherwise. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, and just for people who don't know too, Annabelle father started, and his wife started the Mighty, which a lot of our families are going, oh yeah, I
Right.
follow the Mighty. So
Mike Porath, and he's also actually on the board of NORD, which is the National Organization for Rare Diseases. So there's a lot of people in our group, in our organization, in our community that are. That little thing is really funny, topping up my head there. Anyway, explain to people the virtual background thing, please. Anyway, yeah, and he's obviously very involved with that. So yes.
David, one thing I think people don't know is what the heck a board of directors does. And I don't want anyone to pause right now and go, oh, this seems a little boring. But I think it's important because they'll say, oh, what's the board doing? Or what is the team doing? Tell them a little bit about what is the purpose of a board and our board?
Well, I mean, obviously part of its governance. The Alliance is a growing organization. Members, it's community, I guess, is still the best way to describe it. But no, the board is responsible, financially responsible for what we earn, what we acquire in terms of funding. Obviously, we provide some direction, but we also get a lot of input from the community in general.
Yeah.
At our family conferences, it's usually the last day, so the attendance isn't always the highest. But we usually have a meet the board session where a few of us on the board, excuse me, a few of us on the board will answer questions or just present where we stand. So it's I think the thing about our board is we have a requirement that 51% are parents. We have much higher percentage than that. There's, I think right now, actually since Joe, I think right now all of us are either grandparents or parents.
Yeah.
And I think just having that closeness of what we're doing for the folks, having parents involved is actually the key. We always are looking for people that are interested in being on the board. And if anybody is, please get in touch, and we can share more of our, what our bylaws are and all that kind of formal stuff. But we meet once a month, virtually. In the old days by phone. Now the magic of Zoom and these fancy backgrounds.
We're all afraid to move, by the way.
Yeah, and then we have one face-to-face meeting. Usually, it's either in conjunction with the family conferences, and then on the odd year, like this year, we meet at the when we're having our science conference, which is in August in Round Rock, Texas, y'all. Anyway,
Round Rock.
Looking forward to that.
I think a lot of people don't realize, and Nika, I know you have some follow-up questions on this too, but think a lot of people don't realize that as the executive director, while I have some autonomy on the day to day, the board really sets the strategy. So when we go into this, it's, the board is setting the strategy on how much money are we going to be able to spend on research, on programs, on fundraising even. So I think that they think there's a disconnected group. They meet once a month and rubber stamp things. That is not the case with this board. Talk a little bit about how involved are you guys, not in the day-to-day, because you guys do a great job of saying you run the day-to-day. How involved is the board in the strategy and maybe what we're doing right now to get that strategy aligned?
Right. And right now, in fact, good question, Carrie.
Oh, thanks.
Right now we're in the process of redoing our strategic plan. As an organization, the Alliance has grown considerably. I remember when Mike and our daughter Sarah first got involved. Well, Annabelle's 15, so it was probably 13 years ago. They were talking about raising funds. They were going to have a bake sale. Mike always tells that story. We're far above that, or beyond that right now. I think there were 400 families involved at that point. Now we have, the latest numbers 2,000 or more than that, especially when you consider the international reach that we have now. The last interview was just incredible with a woman from Ireland. But anyway, but that I guess provides us the reason to relook at strategic plans, to relook at what's latest in research right now. We have partnered with Angelman's in a lot of areas, including research. It's similar, but not the same type syndrome. But nonetheless, we also work with them. Carrie is involved with them on a weekly basis, as is Vanessa, who's on the board as well, from a science standpoint. But yeah, I guess just developing these strategic plans, looking at what committees or groups that we need to have working on things is important. That's another great way for people to get involved. The board, is one way, but also with the committees we have, that's a really good way. And I'm sure you're going to talk about that as well, to get involved with the, I would say more involved with the Alliance in that respect.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, one of the things that I really like about our board is how diverse they are. We talk about our community and the individuals with Gifford and their broad range of abilities, and that no two kids look alike in terms of what the symptomology of Gifford looks like for each of them. I really appreciate that all of our board members are either their children are at different ages and journeys of their life, their grandparents, maybe some of their kids have seizures, some of them are verbal. And so when you guys are coming together at the table and talking about strategy, it's not a one-way street on what one person thinks we should be doing.
Yeah.
Everybody is, supporting the community as a whole. So I really love that. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that our board isn't paid. They're all volunteers.
We don't. What, you're
is-
telling me that now?
No,
We don't get
no.
paid?
That's right. We'll double this year what you got.
No, that's our 50K match.
In fact, to be a member of the board, you actually have to make a financial commitment as well, to either directly give money, donate money, or sponsor an event. I think now we're maybe back to the time we can have more walks, which are a great way to both raise funds, but also to meet people in the community that you may not have even known were neighbors that have a duper in the community. I know I've been to a few that we have in New Jersey. I'm in Pennsylvania, but New Jersey's just across the border there. There was a great walk they had every year in Medford, and it was super. You got a chance to meet people that you just didn't, you only saw once a year at the walk. So it was that's nice to be able to do that, and that also helps the board, helps the organization because of the fundraising.
Yeah.
It's so important. I mean, the Big Give obviously is a major event for us.
Yeah. And
the money that, as you said, the board members are not paid, and that's what it's all about. Is what can we? The more we get, the more we can do with research, with working with the different clinics as well. So.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is you've talked about growth with the Alliance and how, with your time served on the board and volunteering, that you've watched the growth. And I know when I came on, we were just changing leadership from a parent-led organization. We've moved on to Vanessa kind of leading the research, and now we're bringing Carrie on in her expertise in nonprofit. Tell me a little bit more about that strategic decision. Moving Vanessa to, thankfully Vanessa wants to come to our board and help continue to lead us, but having Vanessa join the board and bringing Carrie on.
Yeah, it was actually one of the first things I was involved with when I did join the board. Tom was board chair, and Katie decided she had been the executive director for a while. She decided she wanted to step down. So we needed to do a search for a new executive director, and I asked Tom if I could help with that. And so, as a new board member, that it helped me learn a lot about what we're doing, but also interviewing the various candidates for the first, I'll call it, professional executive director was a great experience for me. We selected Vanessa. That's history. And then Vanessa decided she wanted to get involved with other things, and we did it all over again. And we found, fortunately found Carrie. So, I think we're at a point now, and we've been for a while, where we need that full-time, dedicated focus that an executive director can bring, and not that parents could not do the job. It's just that it's one of our board members has a saying, everything's great until it's not.
Yeah.
And you can wake up in the morning and everything's fine, and then by lunchtime you've got to go to the hospital or whatever. And as a executive director, it's a full-time position, even probably more than a full-time position. And NACA, as well as what you do, I know, because I see your emails late at night. But it's something that just needs to have a lot of focus. And that's, I think we've been fortunate. We found two great executive directors over the last 10 years or whatever. Yeah.
And then I also wanted to add, because we talked about the board having to make a financial contribution, the board has also stepped up to another level and said that they are willing to match up to $50,000 if we raise $50,000 for the big gift. So that would be $100,000 that we would be able to bring to the Ladder Learning Network. That's going to bring critical medical advice and things to our families through our GPTQ clinics, through our Ladder database, and it's also going to be a hub for any future clinical trials. So funding this is truly making an impact for our families and truly driving change and tangible. So please, please, please help us get our match. We are currently just under $10,000 and we have a full day to go. So if you have any questions, if you can't make a gift today, please share our stories, share any of the videos that make an impact on you. The more that we raise awareness, the better. So thank you so much. And then Carrie, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, actually, before we go, I want to actually circle about something you all said in the meat of the conversation. I think it's really important for people to know, because there's been some parents have been honest with me. They're like, yeah, you are not a mom of a duper, or you are not a neuroscientist. And I wanted to circle back on that, because this is where, if knowing the nonprofit structure is so important, and this is where in many different nonprofits I've run, you bring on the board your experts, and you bring on your committees the experts. And that's why, too, we have Vanessa still there. I don't want anyone to be worried that we're going to go in a different direction and now be 99% programs and 1% research. The board wouldn't allow that, nor would I, but I'm just saying, understand that this is certainly not a place where I get to sit and make all these decisions. The board helps drive the strategy, and then I help facilitate that strategy. So I want to make sure that's super clear that while I come with a big heart, you've probably seen these posts where I'm like, I just love this community, but I also am plugging into the research and learning. And I equated it the other day to someone. I said to them, I'm kind of coming about this like a new mom who just found out their child was diagnosed, and when the office closes, right, Nika? Office closes at night. I spend that time, and I do during the day as well. I'm on research calls constantly. We're all engaged in research calls and pharma calls. So I want to encourage people to not feel like we're changing any type of direction. We're making sure we're going forward more and raising more dollars. So I wanted to just circle back to make sure there was comfort in that. Go ahead, David. Yeah.
No, you took something that I was going to mention. I think that you've learned a lot about the syndrome, about the science, from being involved in the weekly calls with clinicians, with researchers. And again, our science conference this year just helps us all.
Yeah.
You may not understand, I don't understand the science, but what's important is you see that things are being done and that there's progress being made. One other thing I thought, when, again, going back to Annabelle and our daughter and son-in-law, when they joined, they were going to a clinic in Delaware at the DuPont Clinic, which was one of the very few places you could go. In fact, it was because the one doctor was there. Right now we're at, I think, 17 clinics that have the ability can understand a bit about the syndrome and have people there that can work with the families. That in itself shows how we've grown.
Yeah.
To be able to, obviously the more dupers there are, the more opportunities there are for doctors to learn about our syndrome. But that's another important part of our mission, is to make sure that we get information out so that when a family pitches up to their pediatrician, and there's some, please help us. Either they can direct, if the doctor doesn't know about it, they can direct them to the website, or they can get another physician involved. So those are things that, that's kind of like the helpful side of having an alliance like this, where you can support families. But it also, the education for doctors that the families can bring to them is very important, because a lot of families aren't close to a clinic. That's one of our goals, is to try to develop as many clinics as we can, so families don't have to drive for 8 hours or 12 hours or fly someplace. The woman on the call earlier, obviously there's not a clinic in Ireland. There's one in Holland, Israel, and maybe Germany, I'm not sure, but we want to make things as easy for people, which is, nothing is easy, as easy for people to get good advice and good help.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, David. I just wanted to really reiterate that for no one to fear, we are still forging with therapies. And as a matter of fact, Nika will tell you how many times a week I get really fired up about therapies and going, we've got to get this done. What can we do? And the team will tell you. We'll sidebar sometimes and just be like, what can we do to make this happen? So, Nika, do you have anything else before we close up? Want to share who's coming up next?
Come on, Nika.
Oh, conveniently, our first founding clinic director, Dr. Ron Thieber, is going to be coming up next, as we were just talking about clinics. We are so excited to have him join us. I think anytime that he is available to speak about anything, we all are all open ears. So I'm really excited.
It's Dr. Ron. It's Dr. Ron to all of us.
Dr. Ron.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
Very
as
good.
we close up to this time, we do want to thank Radius, one of our partners for this event. I think the fact that we have pharma companies coming alongside of us and being partners says a lot about the interest in this community. So thank you to Radius so much for helping us make this happen today. And if you are watching and you haven't donated, please consider. If you also are watching and you're going, I don't have it to give, I sure wish I did, feel free to start a fundraiser on your page. If you don't know how, inbox us, just message us. Go to message at the top of your screen. We'll tell you how to set that up. And you can help get the word out to your community as well. So,
and I think we also have kind of like a blueprint of how to organize a walk or an event like that as well, that can help people get started in that. It's like getting in the pool. You once you jump in, it's the temperature's fine. But until you make that leap, you're kind of hesitant. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, David. Thanks for your leadership and the many, many volunteer hours you put in a month. It's certainly not a one-time meeting. We chat regularly, weekly, sometimes daily. So thank you so much for what you've done and your leadership. And yeah, thanks. And we'll be back in just a few minutes with Dr. Thiebert.
Bye, everybody.